Good evening, students. Sorry for the unavoidable delay. Today is 2nd of June and we are going to discuss important articles in our Indian Express analysis, the session which goes live every day at 4 p.m. Right? I hope you are able to hear it to me, and also please, if there's some issue relating to video or voice, please let me know in the comment section. Good evening. Give me a second. Good evening, Baga. Good evening, Yashi, Mini, Menka, Kanchan, Humera. Please also tell us the page number of the article. Sure, I do that. Bhanu, Augustine, Dhakkan, Bhanu, Jui Joshi, good evening. Everyone, Reshma, good evening. So these are the articles that we are going to discuss today. We'll start off our today's discussion by understanding the Ukraine's drone attack on Russia. Now, this isn't the first time that Ukraine or Russia has been involved in a drone attack on each other. But why this particular drone attack, which happened yesterday, is so significant, that is what we are going to address in our today's discussion, right? Now, this article primarily is relevant from use of drone in the warfare, which we also saw happen during the time of conflict between India and Pakistan, right? And going forward, we understand drones will play an increasingly important role when it comes to warfare. So that is why use of drone, it is important from GS paper 3 perspective, and that is why we are going to understand our first article. In the second article, the one that was left out on Saturday, I will be covering it about a species that is in news known as olive ridley turtles. Now, news relating to olive ridley turtles are quite frequent in the newspaper. But why has olive ridley turtle appeared in the newspaper recently? We are going to understand that. And we are also going to understand the notable differences in their behavior which has happened in recent times that makes this species important from our exams perspective, right? So any species that is in news become important automatically, and this is relating to environment and ecology, right? So the relevant paper here again is GS paper 3. Jamuna, good evening. Okay, Mini, no issues, good to know. Now, in the third article, we'll be covering about a body which is responsible for undertaking humanitarian effort in the Palestinian region known as UNRWA. And why is UNRWA in news? Because there are expectations that people living in Gaza, because of Israeli blockade, they are going to face problems relating to access of food and water, right? So we are going to understand the role of this body, particularly in Gaza Strip, and why this body for some reason have been actually barred by the Israeli government. So all of this we are going to understand, especially how this body works, how this body functions, what are its role in the region. That is specific from our today's discussion. Now, these kind of a body which take humanitarian effort, these are organs of United Nations that are relevant from GS paper 2 perspective, right? In the fourth article, we'll be covering about a multilateral development bank known as Asian Development Bank. Now, you understand this year questions appeared on BRICS, question appeared on IBRD, which is an organ of World Bank. And IBRD functions in a very similar way to how Asian Development Bank functions. But obviously, you understand the area on which Asian Development Bank works is different than World Bank, and similarly, the composition of this body is also different. So, we are going to understand everything in detail about the Asian Development Bank and how the questions can be asked in the UPSC exam, particularly on bodies like this. Previously, we have also seen that the questions on New Development Bank, which is an organ of BRICS organization, have also been asked. So that is why such kind of a development bank automatically becomes important. In the fifth article, we'll be understanding the need for higher outlay in Manrega. Manrega is a right to work which has been provided legally to people living in India, particularly in rural areas. But why is Manrega so important as an indicator of broader economic development or levels of employment in the country? That we are going to understand. And we are also going to know about the important provisions of Manrega, how it can affect the livelihood in the region, what are the conditions, what are the funding parameters of the scheme, particularly relevant, right? So this is relevant from GS paper 3 perspective, particularly from the region of economic employment, right? And in the last article, if the time permits, we are going to discuss RBI's new rules for gold loans. Now we understand gold loan is something which is very popular in India, prominently much more in southern part of the country. People, they use their gold ornaments and they deposit them in financial institutions, and against them using the gold physical gold as collateral, people take financial loans from the banks and use it for multiple purposes. But recently, due to increased NPA in the gold loan segment particularly, RBI is looking to change few rules and regulations regarding how these loans can be given to people. So we are going to understand in broader detail what are the new rules of RBI and how can it change the way gold loans are taken in our country, right? This again is relevant from GS paper 3 perspective, particularly from banking sector, because the issue here is relating to banks and RBI, right? Sir, should we make notes of all these videos? Well, right now, no. What you need to do, just watch these sessions. I upload the notes after the session ends, and I upload the notes after the session on this Telegram channel, ATS Live, right? So what you need to do after I upload the notes, look the notes and jot down important points that you think you might forget in a days to come, right? And the easier thing I'll suggest you to do is what you do. Copy those important points and paste it somewhere in a doc file, right? Which you can print out later on, not right now. Okay, so this is how you should make notes. You need not copy everything that I provide you. You just need to copy whatever you think you will forget in a future time, right? Any doubts? Aniket, sir, can you help me with current affairs prep? Should I add on your lecture with magazine and should I make notes of particular articles? Well, you should watch these sessions daily. After the month end, whatever current affairs magazine you're following, be it any institute, no need to worry. You can follow those magazines and you'll recall that when you're reading those magazines, now after watching all these sessions every day in the month, you'll realize that recall factor is quite high and you'll be able to memorize everything without having to mug up the details. Sir, shall we take your notes printout? No, I'll not recommend you to take printout because every day I provide 50-60 slides. It will cost you a lot of money and it is of no use because at the end of the month, you'll have like 1,500-1,800 pages of notes. So how can you revise all those notes every day, right? So what I'm telling you to do, just watch these sessions. After the session ends, I will upload the notes and jot down important points in a copy. And even better if you can copy them in your doc file in a computer, right? That is how I used to do in my preparation time. Making notes digitally helps you revise, helps you find important articles and helps you edit it after later on when you are through your notes, okay? And the notes will be available on my Telegram channel, ATS Live. So let us begin our today's discussion with this first article. As you can see, it appeared in the World page. World page is basically the page behind the front page of the Indian Express newspaper today. And I'm talking about Delhi edition. So whatever page I quote every day, it is from a Delhi edition, right? So suppose if you're reading Chennai edition or Mumbai edition, the pages might differ, but the information will be the same, okay? So need not worry too much about the pages. Good evening, Shrishmita. This article talks that Ukraine yesterday launched a large-scale drone attack on Russian air bases and in the process it destroyed several important aircrafts of the Russian Air Force. Now you can understand the drones have been a greater part in warfare in these days, and since the time Ukraine and Russia war broke out, both of these parties have relied significantly on drone. But why this particular drone attack is so big a deal, right? So let us understand this, why such drone attack or this particular drone attack so significant. Now on June the 1st, that is yesterday, Ukraine launched a massive drone strike on 5 Russian air bases, including the one in Siberia, which is located 4,000 kilometers away from front lines. To put things in perspective, the distance between Kashmir and Kanyakumari is 3,475 kilometers. So basically, Ukraine attacked a Russian airbase located much away as compared to the distance between Kashmir and Kanyakumari. And in this process, Ukraine destroyed at least 41 strategic bombers, which included models like Tu-95, A-50. A-50 basically is an AWACS. Similarly, Tu-23 M3 was destroyed by Ukraine. This Tu-23 M3 is also a strategic bomber. What is a strategic bomber? I'll tell you everything, no need to worry. Now in this process, Ukraine is claiming that it has damaged $7 billion worth of defense equipments or Russian assets, and that is why this attack is significant. Now, Before understanding, this was one of the aircraft that was destroyed by Ukraine bombing. This is a Tu-23M3 strategic bomber. Now, first let us understand how the planning and execution of this mission happened, because you'll need to know this, why this is significant. First of all, this was codenamed as Operation Spider's Web. What was the codename of India's operation against terrorist bases and Pakistani Air Force infrastructure? Let me know in the comment section. And this mission was in planning for 18 months, and it is expected that other Western allies of Ukraine like US, like UK might have helped Ukraine in planning and execution of this critical mission. And this was executed by Ukraine's internal security organization known as SBU. Now, in this attack, Ukraine utilized what is known as a Trojan horse tactics. Trojan horse tactics means you smuggle something inside by hiding the true intent, and later on, when people are not taking care of those assets, you utilize those assets to conduct attack beyond enemy lines. And in this process, Ukraine utilized what are known as first-person view drones. If you look at the videos of this attack, you'll realize that the camera feed from these drones were sent directly to Ukraine, and that is why they have been made available even for public. And they were smuggled into Russia in a mobile wooden cabins which were hidden inside trucks. And these cabin roofs, they were opened remotely, launching drones with surgical precision inside Russian territory. Some of them, they were basically 4,000 kilometers away from the Russia-Ukraine border, and that is why I'm telling you this was a significant mission. Now let us understand why this is seen as a game changer. First is because this strike was conducted very much deep into Russian territory. First time Ukraine has hit target this far inside Russian territory, which included regions of Siberia, which is approximately 4,000 kilometers away from Russia-Ukraine border. And I told you the distance between Kashmir and Kanyakumari is how much? 3,475 kilometers. So you can understand how far away it is from Russia-Ukraine border. And similarly, as we saw even during India and Pakistan war, that drone attacks usually happened late in the night in the cover of the dark, so that the enemies are not able to find or not able to realize the drones attack were happening. But this was different. This happened usually during a daylight, which is very unusual as compared to the night attacks which usually happen. Similarly, this is seen as a low cost versus high value target. First of all, these drones that Ukraine used, they mostly come at few thousands of rupees, and using few thousand worth of rupees of drones, Ukraine destroyed $1 billion worth of Russian assets, which included irreplaceable Russian bombers like these one, right? So this was the bomber that was destroyed by Russia-Ukraine attack. And I told you the strategic significance that this attack, this is the Ukraine border, right? And this attack happened in Belaya Airways, which is located in the region of Siberia. And the distance between Ukraine border and this airbase is more than 4,000 kilometers. Understood? So that is why the distance, this Olenia airbase again very far from Ukraine. So this is the kind of attack that happened, and so far in the distance. Yes, Operation Sindoor is the Trojan horse is basically when I hide something. Suppose if I make a wooden horse and I hide soldiers inside it, and I send that wooden horse saying that this is basically a wooden horse. But in the cover of the night, when soldiers emerge from that wooden horse and conduct an attack on enemy territory, that is why what a Trojan horse is, right? So that is why similar kind of a tactics was used. Instead of sending soldiers, Ukraine sent drones, right? Now, it is also seen as a very different because it utilized a low cost measure to destroy a very high value target, and similarly to demonstrate or to send these video feeds, Ukraine utilized civilian mobile networks to relay the footage back to Ukraine. Therefore, this is again seen as a very significant attack on Russia. And also, this is seen as a psychological blow to Russian government, psychological blow to Russian armed forces, because it demonstrates that Ukraine can reach so far deep in the Russian territory. It can adapt to the circumstances, and using tactical innovations, it can actually surprise the enemies like it did Russia here. So this is why this measure is seen as a game changer, because first of all, the attack happened at such a large distance, more than 4,000 kilometers, and it destroyed important military assets like these strategic bombers, right? This is a Tu-95 aircraft, okay? So in this regard, let us first understand what are strategic bombers. The one image that I showed you, this is an example of strategic bomber. These are basically very big aeroplanes that can bomb enemy targets, right? So in this regard, strategic bombers are a type of military aircraft specifically designed to fly longer distances and deliver heavy and powerful weapons. And this especially is used against important enemy targets which is located far beyond the front lines that is used in the war. And these targets often include military bases, industrial centers, critical infrastructure like bridges, power plants, command centers, and sometimes strategic assets like missile silos or airfields. They can also be bombed by these aircrafts. And currently only 3 countries, US, Russia as well as China, only these 3 countries have strategic bombers with them, right? Now there are important features of strategic bombers. First of all, as I told you, they can fly longer ranges. It can fly thousands of kilometers without the need to refueling, making it a possible to strike deep inside the enemy territory. Similarly, it can carry a very heavy payload, that is, it can carry large number of bombs, and it can even carry big bombs that can destroy significant targets, including nuclear weapons. For example, the biggest conventional bomb that the Russia has is known as Tsar Bomba, right? And this Tsar Bomba can also be delivered by these kind of strategic bombers, right? Similarly, it can fly at a very high altitude, and sometimes the modern versions of these aircrafts are also having stealth features which makes them not vulnerable to the air defense systems, and therefore they can use stealth to avoid detection and interception by enemy air defense systems, including the enemy aircrafts. But what you need to understand that these aircrafts are not meant for close combat, unlike fighter aircrafts, because unlike fighter jets, strategic bombers are not or cannot be used in dogfights. Dogfights is basically when two fighter aircrafts particularly fight themselves in the air, right? And their job, that is the strategic bomber's job, is to destroy key targets afar, not engage enemy aircrafts directly, right? So these are the important features of strategic bombers that you need to understand. Well, this is an example of B-2 Spirit. B-2 Spirit is basically a US based strategic air bomber, and you can see this has a very unconventional design modeled on a bird, and this also in terms of its coating has certain stealth features. That means enemy radars can't detect these kind of aircrafts. Understood? Now the important strategic bombers that are in use currently, these include Tu-95, which is from Russia. It is a nuclear capable bomber with long range strike capability. Similarly, even advanced to T-95 is the T-22 M3 aircraft, which is a supersonic bomber for deep penetration strike. The image I showed earlier after the context, that was T-22 M3 aircraft. Similarly, US has 2 strategic bombers, B-52 Stratofortress, which is an iconic long-range bomber used since Cold War, and the more advanced one is B-2 Spirit, which is a stealth bomber designed to evade aircraft. This is B-2, right? And China also has one strategic bomber, that is H-6. It is a strategic bomber which is basically a copied design from Soviet design, okay? Now, what are the global implications of the attack? First global implication, that many experts see this attack or see this as an example of Russia's own Pearl Harbor. You understand, Pearl Harbor was a naval base of US located during Cold War period in the island of Hawaii, and Japan conducted a very brutal bombing of this Pearl Harbor during the time of Cold War. And it is seen that after Pearl Harbor, US decided to attack Japan using nuclear weapons, that was attack cities of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. So people are equating Pearl Harbor attack with this drone attack by Ukraine, saying that similarly it can force Russia to use its nuclear weapons against Ukraine, which is it hasn't done right now, because it is an audacious drone attack against multiple air bases in Russia, and this has in a way humiliated the security apparatus set up by the Russian President Vladimir Putin, and it will not doubtly, or it will lead to a furious response by the Russia, which might even include using the nuclear weapon, right? So this is the first implication that may result out of this bombing. Similarly, it highlights that the new era of warfare has come upon us, where countries, they rely significantly on cheaper sources like drones, and they are used to destroy billion-dollar air bases, billion-dollar aircrafts, which is a quite significant prop-up in terms of cost associated with the war. Similarly, defense experts, they warned that this tactic can also be used globally and can be replicated against countries like US and India. Similarly, it has raised concerns over use of soft targets like rail yards, like port, like civilian infrastructure during the time of war, because mostly at the beginning of the war, people or the countries, they usually bomb military targets of other countries, but when you bomb civilian targets, it leads to significant escalation in the war, right? So these are the global implications that may happen after these kind of attacks. Any doubt until now? You can ask me right now. This is the question that is modeled quite closely to the question that appeared in 2025 prelims. In 2025 prelims, question were asked on what is a C-17 aircraft, what is an IL-76 aircraft, or what is a Dornier 226 aircraft. So similarly, I've curated that question, I've changed that question to suit our today's discussion. So with reference to strategic bombers, consider the following pairs. You have to pair aircraft type with their description. So let me know the correct answer quickly. Well, Tu-95 is a Russian long-range strategic bomber, correct. B-2 Spirit obviously is a American stealth strategic bomber. Dassault aircraft or Dassault Rafale, which even India has, and it is a French origin aircraft. It is a multi-role fighter jet. It is not a strategic bomber, right? So first two are correct, third is not. Therefore, option B is your right answer. Most of you have gotten this right. Baga, Shushmita, Sarang, Banu, Reshma, Yashi, Rishi, Mini, Jui, Gagan, Vidyut, everyone here is correct. Okay, Jamuna also correct. Now moving to the second article, this actually appeared in the Saturday's newspaper, but due to paucity of time, I was unable to cover it. So let us cover this article today. It basically talks about a very important species that remains in news throughout the year, known as olive ridley turtle. But why this news appeared in the Indian Express newspaper? This is the turtle we are going to talk about. See, such a beautiful species it is, okay? Now the context of this article, as it has always been for turtle, especially for olive ridley, for them, life is not a race, rather it is a means to survival, and how a unique conservation project located in coastal Maharashtra is working to protect these turtles from natural predators and prying humans. So basically this talked about an initiative going on in Maharashtra. But what is important from our exams perspective is the species that is given in the article, that is olive ridley turtles. So in that regard, we'll understand the species usually from our perspective of understanding their habits, habitats, as well as their protection status, right? So let us understand what the species is. This is basically the olive ridley turtle. It is one of the smallest and most abundant of the turtle species that is available currently. It has a lifespan about 50 years, and the size of these turtles are basically this much, 2 to 2.5 feet long. And the weight of these turtles can be as low as 35 kilograms and can be as high as 50 kilograms. And in terms of their food preferences, they are omnivorous in nature. What is omnivorous in nature? That means it can eat sea-based plants, or it can even eat small sea-based creatures, okay? So in this regard, let us understand few details about olive ridley turtles. I have told you this is smallest and one of the most abundant of all sea turtles found in the world. In terms of dietary preferences, it is not vegan like many people. It is not specifically non-vegetarian like many people. It can eat both. It is omnivorous. And most important habit of these species is that they are known for conducting mass nesting, which is termed as aribada. So this image will actually tell you the mass nesting of these turtles, which happens in a sea beach, and this is a picture taken from a sea beach in Odisha, right? So in this regard, let us understand how this nesting process of olive ridley turtle works. Now olive ridley turtles, these are basically sea creatures, and the only time they arrive on land is or on shore is to take nest. Nest means that the female olive ridley turtle, they lay eggs twice or thrice in a nesting season, and during this nesting period, the female turtle looks for a safe spot on the shore, which is basically a beach region. And similarly, it uses its flippers like the hands this way to burrow the sand, so that they dig a pit out of the sand and build a pot-like nest over which these female lays eggs. And the turtle female, they can lay anywhere between 80 to 150 eggs during a particular nesting season. And after it has lain an eggs to this pit that it has dug, then it uses again its flippers to cover the nest with sand and then wades back into the waters, right? So this is how nesting process or aribada works in olive ridley turtles. And in terms of habitat, these turtles are majorly found in warm waters in the Pacific, in the Atlantic and in Indian Ocean. And Odisha's Gahirmatha Marine Sanctuary, it is world's largest rookery, or the world's largest area where these sea turtles lays their eggs. Right, so in that regard, let us understand important regions in India where these turtles are available. Now, mostly they are found at the eastern coast of our country. Traditionally, olive ridley turtles appear in large numbers on the eastern coast of India, and the highest number of mass nesting happens obviously in the state of Odisha. Well, solitary nesting, that is individual nesting, not aribata, it usually is observed in eastern coast states of Andhra as well as Tamil Nadu, right? So majorly we are talking about it is the eastern coast, but that doesn't mean that the nesting season doesn't happen in western part of our country. It also happens in the western coast, particularly in states like Maharashtra, which has the highest number of olive ridley turtles nesting in the western coast of India. And out of 4 species of sea turtles known to nest in India, olive ridley is the only turtle species that nests along with the coast of Maharashtra. So this is a very important fact. Please remember it, okay? So what did we understand from our today's discussion? It happens both in eastern and western part of the country, majorly on the eastern coast, but that doesn't mean it doesn't happen in western coast at all. And in western coast, prominently this happens in the state of Maharashtra, and out of all turtles known, only olive ridley turtles, they lay their eggs in the Maharashtra coast, and Maharashtra, it totally accounts for about 20% of India's olive ridley turtles, right? Now this year another big event happened, that Odisha saw a record number of arrival of these species. That is, it is expected that a record of 7 lakh olive ridley turtles, they laid their eggs in the Rushikulia rookery, which is again located in Odisha, and this is one of the major nesting grounds in the district of Ganjam located in Odisha. And this was due to many factors. First is the existence of favorable weather conditions. Because of lack of rain which happened in February in the state of Odisha, it contributed to this, which means less rain means that there is no erosion in the beach, which in turn provides a sufficient space near the river mouth for olive ridley turtles to lay their nest or lay their eggs. Similarly, the beach's slope, that is the gradient of the beach, also played an important factor, and the slope of the beach from top to the water's edge, which is less this year compared to the previous year, also enabled many turtles to lay their eggs on the coast of Odisha. Understood? So this was the reason why this year saw record arrival of olive ridley turtles in the Indian coast. Now let us understand the protection status of the species. We all already understood habits, which is the mass nesting, and habitat, which is the majorly both eastern and western coast of our country. Now let us understand the protection status. It has given the highest protection status in the in the Wildlife Protection Act of the India 1972. That is, they are categorized as Schedule 1 species, which means hunting as well as capturing of these species are a prohibited offense. Similarly, in the IUCN Red List, they are categorized as a vulnerable species, and sites which actually deals with transfer and trade of these species, it is prohibited unless there is an emergent circumstances, which means this species is listed in Appendix 1 of sites. Understood? So this is all that you needed to know about the olive ridley turtles. So this is basically the threats that I've already told you. These are protected in the IUCN Red List, categorized as vulnerable, and in WPN sites, these are given the highest protection status. Now let us understand few threats that these species are subjected to. First, in many areas they are subjected to human consumption, which has actually threatened the population of these species. Further, these species being omnivorous in nature, sometimes they also have a tendency to eat some waste that has been deposited or thrown back into the ocean. So marine pollution and waste also is threatening their population. And similarly, whenever fishermen, they are catching their fishes deep into the ocean, whenever they throw the net, there is a possibility that those fishing nets might even capture unwillingly some of these olive ridley turtles. So fishing trawlers are also a danger to these species. Now many initiatives have been taken by NGOs, by government organizations to protect these species. First was starting of Operation Olivia, which was done by Indian Coast Guard. Similarly, Indian authorities have mandated installation of turtle excluder device, which basically means a device is installed which scans all the catch that the fisherman is making, and this automatically will throw back the turtles back into the ocean, not dealing with their threat. Similarly, some of them are also tagged by GPS signals so that their movement is recorded and estimated by the authorities. So these are the threats and initiatives that have been taken by Indian authorities to protect olive ridley turtles. Understood? Any doubt? Let's see if you are able to solve these questions. This is a practice question specifically curated on olive ridley turtles, right? Quickly. Well, this question actually can be solved by using common sense also. See, first, these are sea creatures and usually come to shore only to nest. This is a correct statement. I've already told you about their habits. Olive ridley turtles are found only alongside coast of India. This is incorrect. I told you they are available in warmer waters of Pacific Ocean, of Atlantic Ocean and also of Indian Ocean. So they are not exclusively available in India, right? So second statement is incorrect. Third, the hatchlings of olive ridley turtle, which is basically the baby olive ridley turtles, they immediately migrate to freshwater habitats after their birth. This is incorrect. I told you this species are living in sea water or salty water. They are not living in fresh water. So why will a child olive ridley turtle go to a fresh water? They will move to sea back again, right? So that is why with the use of common sense, you could have eliminated the third option. For second and third are incorrect. Only first is right. So option A is your right answer. Yes, Baga, you are correct. Some of them, Reshma, correct. Rishi, Sarang, Bhanu, Jui, Shushmita, Mini, Sipra, Yashi, correct. Menka, please look at the question again. You will get it the next time, I'm sure. Jamuna, same goes to you. Vidyut, correct. Gagan, correct. Menka, not D. Akhil and Bhavani, both correct. Bhavani or Bhavani, please let me know the correct pronunciation. Now, species that are in news, I dealt specifically with olive ridley turtles because it was in news. Similarly, whenever a species appear in the news, I will deal with them. But what about other species that are important from exams perspective but not dealt in the news? For those species, what you need to do is offer GS Foundation courses. Right now, earlier the admissions for GS morning batch, it closed on 31st, but I received many phone calls from the students saying that they had some financial problem because it was the end of the month, so they were not able to get the money for admission. So we have allowed admissions for this May morning batch until 3rd of June. So you have now until 3rd of June, that is tomorrow evening, before you can take admissions in the May morning batch, and after that it will close. To take admissions in the May morning batch, what you need to do, go to our StudyIQ IS website, right? Click on this. This opens our website, and here on the top right hand corner is an option where you can use your mobile number to log in. After you're done with the logging process, go to explore courses, right? So when you go to explore courses, the upper tile actually shows you what kind of a language you want your education to be in. And suppose it is perfectly fine for you not to be comfortable in Hindi or in bilingual batches, right? So for you, we are specially offering you English only or English exclusive batches, right? And I teach an English exclusive batch. On the left hand tile is the tile which you need to click if you want to take admission in the May morning batch, right? Once you click on this tile, it shows 39,999 is the course fees for diamond batch, right? But I will tell you a way where you can get discounts even on this amount, right? What you need to do, click on buy now. Once you click on buy now, on the right there's an option to add promo code. Click on this, and there is a code which is flashing on the bottom half of your screen, right? It says use the code ATS live. Click on this code and write ATS live and click apply, right? Once you click apply, see the discount of 7,000 rupees is applicable, and the diamond course is now available at 32,999. Similarly, platinum is at 29,999 and gold is at 19,999. Out of these three, you can take admissions in any one of them as per your own need. But my personal recommendation to you guys would be opt for diamond batch. And why am I saying opt for diamond batch? Because if you can see from this image, diamond batch offers every feature that is available on StudyIQ's platform. Similarly, gold and platinum offers some but not all features. So that is why I'm telling you to opt for diamond batch. But before taking admissions, do not forget to use the code ATS live because it will help you get 7,000 rupees discount. And I understand whenever you are earning or your parents are earning, saving every money is very important, and that is why please do not forget to add the code and save 7,000 of your parents' hard-earned money, right? Now moving to the next article. This article appeared in the World page as well as page 9 of the Indian Express newspaper today, and it talks about food crisis or hunger crisis that is prevailing in the region of Gaza in the Mediterranean part of the world, right? And this article in the Explain talks about an interview that this hunger crisis in Gaza is actually a human-made crisis. So basically, let us understand the context of our today's article, right? Now, this context said that an estimated 50 people were shot at or injured in the Rafah city of Gaza this week after thousands of Palestinians, they were desperate for food and they swarmed an aid distribution site which is operated by Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which is basically an NGO backed by US and Israel. Now Gaza, it has been under a total blockade for almost 3 months now, and this is because of this blockade, the distribution and arrival of food from different parts of the world to Gaza has taken a hit. And the UN Relief and Works Agency for Palestinian Refugees in the nearest, UNRWA, has said that it can't work with this body because of many circumstances not important from our exam. What is important from our exam is this particular body, and also the issue that WHO has warned that people in Gaza will face the risk of famine, with around 75% of the population in serious need of the food. So in this regard, this organization becomes important, and the territory of Gaza also becomes important from mapping or geography perspective, right? So first, let us understand about the agency UNRWA, which is basically a UN based agency which is established specifically to support relief and humanitarian development of Palestinian refugees, and it was established by a resolution of United Nations General Assembly back in 1949, and it started to work from 1950. And the objective of this body is to provide relief, health and education services for Palestinians who have lost both their homes and their means of livelihood during the Arab-Israeli wars, which happened during the establishment of State of Israel and afterward in the next few decades, right? So this is basically the organization we are talking about. Now, whenever we are going to talk about any organization, automatically the headquarters become important, the source of funding becomes important, and how those body functions, that also becomes important. First, let us understand the headquarters of this agency. Now, earlier when it was established, the headquarters of this agency was located in the capital city of Lebanon, that is Beirut. But subsequently, as I've told you multiple times, most of the UN based bodies, they are headquartered in good cities in Europe or in US, right? Similarly, the headquarters of this body was moved to Vienna, which is capital city of Austria, back in 1978. And following the conclusion of Oslo Accords in the early 90s, Oslo Accord was the accord which enabled Israel and Palestinian to take some kind of a peace measure, right? And this was brokered by UN General Assembly. So this agency, it moved to Gaza Strip in 1996 to demonstrate that General Assembly is committed to Israeli-Arab peace process, and that is why majorly this agency, although headquartered in Vienna, operates out of Gaza Strip. And in the absence of solution to the Palestinian refugee problem, which persists even today, the General Assembly has repeatedly renewed the mandate of this body, and most recently it has extended the mandate to next year, that is 2026. Right? Now, what is important is what UNRWA basically does. Right? This is a unique body among UN agencies because it delivers services directly. Other bodies, they take helps of NGOs to deliver their services, but not this body. They deliver the services directly. And the kind of services they deliver includes education-based services, healthcare, relief and social services, construction of camp infrastructure, and also providing microfinance to people so that they become or they can get some kind of an income themselves. And it also provides emergency assistance, including at the times of armed conflict. So that is why during the ongoing armed conflict between Israel and between Gaza, this is providing emergency assistance in terms of provision of food, provisions of water, provisions of medical care. And it supports more than 5 million registered Palestinian refugees and their perennial descendants who have fled or who have expelled from their homes in the current region of Palestine to different countries following the wars which happened with Israel and these Arab nations, right? Now, this UNRWA is largest humanitarian agency that is working in Gaza Strip, and currently it has more than 12,000 members, and rest UN system, they have presence about 300 in the Gaza Strip. Now it also has, that is UNRWA, it also has a large logistical network which includes several warehouses which it uses to provide aid to refugees, and it has also set up mobile healthcare points for its staff to go and treat the patients into these kind of camps. And more than 20,000 children are a part of UNRWA's Back to Learning initiative, which includes play activities, psychosocial and social support to these children, and provision of basic literacy and numeracy, etc. So we understood they provide healthcare services, they provide banking services, they provide education services. Understood? Any doubt? Any doubt up till now? Now UNRWA sanitation laborers, they also collect trash and clean refugee camps, but what you need to understand, UNRWA, they do not run the refugee camp, they maintain the camps, right? And they only provide facilities and services in them. And the chief officer of UNRWA, called as Commissioner General, he is the only leader in the entire UN agency who reports directly to the General Assembly. And the appointment of Commissioner General of UNRWA is done by UN Secretary General with the approval of Advisory Commission of UNGA. Understood? Now let us understand where these agencies operate. I told you majorly they operate in Gaza Strip, but they also operate in countries like Jordan, Lebanon, Syria, as well as West Bank, including the East Jerusalem region, which is currently under the control of Israel. So it does not exclusively operate in Gaza Strip. Majorly they operate, but not exclusively. And the funding of this body is done almost entirely by voluntary contributions from UN member state, but it also to a minor extent receive some kind of a funding from regular budget of the UN, which is used mostly for international staffing cost, right? So this is the source of funding. If it says it is exclusively funded by donations from UN member state, the answer would be incorrect, because minor funding is also provided from the budget of UN. Any doubts up till now? Now last year, Israel actually barred this agency from operating in Israel because it made allegation against 19 staff members of UNRWA and accusing them, the whole agency as a whole, of being a haven for Hamas's radical ideology. And Israel passed a law in its parliament in 2024 which came into effect from end of January 2025, and it prohibited operations of UNRWA in UN or Israel's sovereign territory, which means UNRWA currently can't operate from East Jerusalem, which is currently under the control of Israel. And similarly, it barred any contact between UNRWA and Israeli officer, which means it severely has impacted the operations of UNRWA in the regions of West Bank and Gaza, because they can't coordinate with Israel armed forces. And there is a possibility, so whenever Israeli special forces are attacking a country and whenever the child or children are present in the area, they can't be rescued by UNRWA. But in their defense, Israel said that many employees of the UNRWA, they were actually the terrorists belonging to Hamas, and the agency as a whole is now under the control of Hamas. So this was the reason provided by Israel to ban these organizations, especially from Israeli territory. But that doesn't mean that this UNRWA can't operate in Palestinian territory, okay? Now the reason or the region we are talking about is the Gaza Strip. Gaza Strip is located here on the western part of Israel. This is a sovereign territory of Palestine. Palestine includes West Bank region and Gaza Strip, right? And Gaza Strip, as you can see from this image, shares its border with Egypt as well as Israel. And the important cities of Gaza Strip are Rafah, Khan Yunis, Gaza City, Beit Hanun, etc. Right? Now, major dealings with Gaza Strip, I've covered a separate video, so go and watch that video. Why is Gaza Strip in news? What are the various features of Gaza? What you need to understand, Gaza is a part of Levant region. Levant region is basically the region located on the eastern part of Mediterranean Sea, and it includes countries like Syria, includes countries like Israel, Palestine, Jordan, etc. Right? And the climate of this region is a Mediterranean form of climate, which is a hot semi-arid climate, and the crops which are grown in Gaza are majorly citrus fruit like grapes, oranges, lemon, as well as dates and olives, right? Similarly, there are other features of the Gaza Strip which you can, I've already covered them many times. I will upload the notes, and if you have any doubt, please do ask me in the Telegram channel. Now let's see how many of you will be able to solve these questions. So what about yesterday's class? Sunday we do not have a session. I also need a break once in a week, right? This is a PYQ of 2022, as you may have already seen it. Yes, all of you are right. This is a region on Eastern Mediterranean shore. So option A is the right answer. Now let's see how many of you will be able to answer this question. This is a practice question that I have curated specially for this session. Yes, Sarang, Baga, Yashi, Bhanu, Akhil. All of you are right. Egypt, Israel are the bordering country of Gaza, Lebanon and Jordan are not. So option B is the right answer. Yes, Shushmita, Jui, Reshma, all of you are correct. Now moving to the next article, this talks about ADB. And as you can see from this image, this I have taken from page 6 of the Indian Express newspaper, and it shows the president of ADB meeting with Indian Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi, right? So in this discussion, why is actually ADB in news? Asian Development Bank's president Masanto Ganda has announced a 5-year initiative to transform urban infrastructure across India with an estimated investment of $10 billion. And this funding support includes third-party capital which will be provided for urban transformation like extension of metro lines, new regional rapid transport system like the ones which was inaugurated recently in Delhi, Namo Rail, and also other infrastructure and services will be made using the funding from ADB. And the plan includes sovereign loans, private sector financing and third party capital. So in this regard, let us understand how the body ADB functions. Like World Bank, like New Development Bank, like Asia Infrastructure Investment Bank, Asian Development Bank is also a multilateral development bank, which means multilateral means the members of these banks are sovereign nations and the purpose for which this bank extends loan is for development purposes, right? So that is why it is called as multilateral development bank, and this was established back in 1966 and the headquarters of this body is in Manila, which is the capital city of Philippines. It is a principal international development financial institution for the region Asia Pacific region, and it envisages a prosperous, inclusive and resilient and sustainable Asia Pacific while sustaining its efforts to eradicate extreme poverty in the region, right? Now what ADB does is that it provides assistance for developing member countries, including private sector companies and public-private partnerships through giving them grants. Grants basically means financing which you don't expect to return. So I'm giving you something as a gift or as a donation, that will be called as a grant. It also extends loans. It also extends technical assistance, which means the employees and experts of ADB will go and lend their expertise to developing countries, and also they make equity investments to promote social and economic development. Equity investment means, suppose if a company needs funds, they will provide the fund provided that company gives some of the shares to ADB also, right? So these are kind of assistance that ADB provides to member countries, and not just member countries but also private sector countries. Please remember it. And ADB, it maximizes the development impact of its assistance by facilitating policy dialogue. Suppose if a country is struggling financially, ADB will also advise those government to take certain policy measures so that their economic status becomes better. It provides advisory services and mobilizes financial resources through co-financing operation that tap official, commercial and export credit sources, right? Co-financing method means, suppose ADB will provide some financing and it will also bring other financial institutions, foreign financial institutions along with them, so that they also provide funds for the project. So these are co-financing, right? So this is what ADB usually does. Now let us understand what is the membership of the ADB. As I told you, ADB, the members are countries themselves, and the membership of ADB is open to members and associate members of United Nations Economic Commission for Asia and Far East, right? And it is open to other regional countries and non-regional developed countries also that are members of UN or it's any specialized agency. So from this, what you understood, that regional countries which are located in Asia and Far East, they can be the members, and non-regional developed countries like US, UK, etc., they can also be the members, provided they are already the members of UN or any of the affiliate organization of UN. Currently it started with 31 members and currently it has grown to 69 members, which includes 50 from within Asia and Pacific and 19 from outside, right? So what is important for you to note, it includes regional members and non-regional members also. Understood? Now the control of ADB is vested with Board of Governors, and every member country, they send their nominee as a one of the Board of Governor, and this is the body which controls how the ADB will provide financing to. And the working of ADB is modeled very closely to the World Bank, and therefore it has also weighted voting system. Though the votes of ADB is not distributed equally among the members, rather these are distributed in proportion to how much money the member countries are contributing to ADB. So automatically, if one member country is providing a large share of financing to ADB, they will have a higher voting share. Understood? So as of now, ADB's 5 largest shareholders are Japan and United States. These are the largest shareholder with 15.6 voting percent each, followed by China with 6.4%. India 6.3%, and the last is Australia, that is 5.8%. So these are 5 largest shareholders or voting holders in the ADB, which also includes your and my dear nation India. Understood? Any doubt? Now the funding of ADB, where it comes from? Primarily, it raises funds through bond, which is issued in global market. So it issues bond, and these bonds are rated best kind of bonds, that is AAA security rating, which means it is a secure bond. And it also relies on members' contributions, earnings from its lending operation, and loan repayment. So means, suppose it has given a loan, so that loan will also allow ADB to earn interest income, so that is also used in the form of funding for next kind of a loans, and also loan repayment that is repaid back by the member countries. And ADB, it administers a variety of special funds also, trust funds and financing partnership facilities, many of which are funded through contribution for various member countries and donors, and these funds are used specifically to support specific projects and initiatives in the countries, right? So these are the sources of funding from where ADB gets its money from. Understood? Any doubts up till now? Now this is the question that I've curated, specifically modeled on the question that appeared in 2025 exam on IBRD, International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, is a part of World Bank, right? So I've changed that question to suit our today's discussion. Let's see how many of you answer it correctly and answer it quickly. Chandu says A, Sarang says option C, Kanchan says option C. Let's find out. We have to solve this question with respect to Asian Development Bank. It provides loan, technical assistance, grants to developing countries in Asia and Pacific. Correct. Straightforward one, right? It was established in the aftermath of World War II to rebuild what on Asia? This is incorrect. This statement actually is true for IBRD and especially for reconstruction of what on Europe. Right, this is incorrect because this was established in 1966, much after World War II. World War II ended in 1945. So, second statement incorrect. Its membership is open to all members of United Nations General Assembly. This is incorrect. Why this is incorrect? Because it is open to all members, regional members of UN and non-regional development members, right? So basically this option that I have given must be incorrect because 2 statements are incorrect. I actually copied the question and I changed the statement, right? So only one would be the right answer. Sorry for the wrong options, okay? Yes, Yashi, only one is the right answer. Now it's basically 5:01, which means we are very much into 5 p.m. So I will end the session here. The rest articles we are going to cover tomorrow. No need to worry. And the notes for this session will be available on my Telegram channel, ATS Live. So you can go to this channel and download the notes. Okay. Rest articles we will cover it tomorrow. Need not worry. Okay. So this is the end of our today's session. I hope to see you again tomorrow at 4. A good participation from each and every one of you. I enjoyed the session because all of you were attentive. That is what a teacher wants. Okay. So goodbye all of you. Have a very good day.